third time's the charm. So welcome to my video. This is Big Sis Talks, and this topic is going to be very heavy, and it's about grief. In honor of my loved ones who have passed, I'm talking about grief, but I'm going to put a twist on it. The twist is the things that we, as a whole, don't talk about when it comes to grief. So let's begin. A big thing that I want to get off my chest is that you don't get over it. When you love somebody and they're no longer here, it hurts. It does not matter if it's with 1 year of them being gone, 5 years, 10 years, it could be 100 years. The hurt is still going to be there. If time is supposed to heal all wounds, I say grief is like an ulcer. It's on the inside. It doesn't fully heal, but it can settle to the point where you can still function and live your life. But when it flares up, it hurts tremendously. That is the most accurate way I can say how you won't get over it. You basically learn how to live with that pain and keep living life. Whether that's them wanting to see you succeed, you fulfilling your promise to them, or you just wanting to make them proud from whatever spiritual realm they are at. You take it, you hold it close and dear to you, and you keep moving forward. And that does not mean you have gotten over it. You just learn how to function with it. And I'm going to leave that there. All right. Another thing that we don't really talk about when it comes to grief is the fact that I don't want to hear the phrase, they're in my heart, especially when I have just reminisced about them or when I say I miss them. I understand that they're in my heart are supposed to be words of comfort. I'm assuming people say that phrase as a way to acknowledge your hurt, but then also give you the bright side of it. I will acknowledge that. However, that does not help me. When I am saying I miss them, I want them physically here. I want to hear them. I want to see them. I want to touch them and make more memories. I want them physically here. And that same sentiment goes for the phrase, they're here in spirit. I can't laugh at a spirit. I can't make jokes with that spirit. I can't take the spirit out grocery shopping, go to restaurants and talk. I will be looked at like a crazy person. So, in my spirit or in my heart does not quench my thirst for them to literally be here. And if I did not understand the sentiment behind they're in spirit or they're in my heart, I would say that person is being truly dismissive of my feelings. And I would not like it. That's like you talking about maybe the passing of your pet. And somebody coming up and saying, well, you could just get another cat or you could just get another dog. Yes, I know that. But that's not the sentiment. That is not the feeling you're trying to portray. You're saying it feels empty. Something is off because they are literally absent. For me, the most recent loved one that has passed was a consistent figure in my life. I was talking to her almost every week when I was away. But when I was at home, I was talking to her every other day, if not every day. We had a running joke. We had deeper conversations. All of those things were so consistent, it became part of my daily routine. And since they are gone, her absence is very jarring to me. So when you hear me say, I miss her, I mean in every way you can possibly think of. So I do not want to hear the phrase, there or she is in my heart. Next thing I would like to note, grieving isn't a one-time thing. Grieving is cyclical. Not in the sense of timing, but more in the sense of events that happen. So if I was to go back to the ulcer analogy, once you're able to manage the pain of the ulcer and begin your normal routine to the best of your abilities, you won't feel that intense pain as before. The main times you will feel the intense pain of that ulcer is when maybe something flares it up or you start getting sick. You see, the cycle is maybe it gets better, it's still there, but there isn't pain. Maybe you eat something that flares it. Maybe you overdid something or your body's trying to fight something and it's causing that pain to surge back up, right? So it's the events. You're good, something flares it up, you're in pain, you got to treat the pain, now you're good again. That is the cycle. And that same cycle applies to grieving. So when the person recently passed, it is an intense pain, sorrow, anger, loss. All of that is in one. Then within like the few months, you start trying to manage it. You got to plan for it and or you got to keep living life and paying your bills. So now the pain is managed. But it does flare up. There are some that you know will flare up your grief, and there are some that you don't know will flare up your grief until you encounter it. So basically, you will have triggers. Some triggers are known, and some triggers are unknown. Example of known triggers for someone who is grieving, the loved one's passing date, the loved one's funeral date, the loved one's birthday, their anniversary, any major events that you held close to you, This also includes locations and items that are very reminiscent of the passing person. And those are just some of them. Now, when we talk about unknown triggers, these are things your body and or your mind reacts to that you wouldn't think it would react to because you were never affected by it before. Because the unknown trigger is just discovered and you had no clue about it, you can have a heightened reactivity to it. So you could be more irritable when you see it. You could be more sad when you experience it. You could be more startled just because your body is now experiencing it for the first time. I believe this occurs because once a passing of a loved one happens, you have to take into factor all of the things that led up to that person's passing. And you have to take into consideration how your body responds to the passing of someone. Because now you experience death close. And that could warp how you view different things and or how you watch different things. I will use myself as an example. When she passed away, my known triggers were the day that she died, her birthday, her funeral date, listening to some of the stories about her, and or walking through certain parts of the house and being able to reminisce on what me and her used to talk about. And one of my unknown triggers was Hamilton, the play. And it's not necessarily the whole play, but it is one part of the play and or the song It's Quiet Up Here. And it was typically the part where they were all singing as a chorus, they're going through the unimaginable. And I'm like, oh, I was just wailing and sobbing. Oh, it was not good. It took me like a couple of minutes to calm down. So that was a surprise. I think I'm more sensitive to death scenes now more than I have ever been. So much so, I don't necessarily avoid things that have death in it, but I know I don't seek it out, right? And this came due to grief. Let me go into the next one. One thing that we as a whole don't talk about when it comes to grief, past, if you are a family member of the late person, you still have responsibilities in spite of you being at your pinnacle of grief. Let me break this down to you. So, we could talk about the paperwork aspect. And this consists of A, searching through the late person's paperwork and finding all of the documentation that they have. If they had any legal documents, such as wills, deeds, titles, somehow any late billing, you have to get all of that in. Then you have to make multiple calls, depending on where they want you to start, right? Because when this person passed, you don't get the death certificate immediately. So because you're not getting it immediately, you can't cancel certain plans. You can't cancel certain things because you will have to show that they have passed with a death certificate. Billing would need to be caught up, or you need to have the power of attorney. I don't know what the proper word is. I'm not fully in the legal field yet. So someone who basically has permission to step on behalf of that person. But that system should have already been in place while that person is alive. Then you have to deal with the funeral and the funeral home. Then you got to call people or churches to see who's willing to participate in the coming of home ceremony, the celebration of life ceremony, however you want to call it, and building a plan off of that. So that alone does not give anybody who is going through bereavement any time to actually bereave. And so people will be like, oh, well, the planning portion needs to be done by the close person or the loved one, family member. Once you get the paperwork finished for the funeral, then at the funeral, they get to fully lament how they want to. And the community will come together to actually support the family or friend or partner in their time of loss. And I'm here to tell you, that's a bald-faced lie, especially if you're one of the elder daughters and or an elder granddaughter. So let me elaborate. First thing that's going to happen is you are going to host the funeral. Yes, there's an itinerary, there's a system set up, but you have to make sure it goes through as planned. So you're not really grieving because you got to make sure that is finalized. Then you got to wrap everything up there and meet whoever it is at the burial home. So you got to confirm with the people trying to bury them. Do you get a headstone? Is this the right plot? You got to make sure all of that is accurate before they do the literal burial of this person. Then after the burial, they have to basically reconvene with the driver who's been driving them in the family car to confirm where they're being picked up, where they're being dropped off. Then they got to double check with all of the guests to see if they have transportation to get to the repast. And if they don't, then typically it does fall on the elder daughter to start asking everybody around to see who has a car and a free seat for someone to travel in to get to the repast. And they also have to confirm with some of the family members who decided not to keep themselves informed and answer all the questions. Oh, where the repast happening? I'm just going to leave that there. And you might think, well, at the repast, they will be able to laugh. They will be able to cry. They should be able to actually grieve now. And I'm here to tell you, you are still wrong. Because now you got to be a host or a hostess. You got to make sure you say hi and thank all of the guests. Some people have this habit of sending out thank you cards. So now you got to look through the list of names and the addresses and write thank you cards and send them out to those people for coming to the funeral. Then on top of that, guests who may or may not have seen the late person recently, they now want to start telling you their story of this person. I am missing this late person, and now I gotta sit here and listen to you tell me how good of a person they are, and that they're no longer here, and that they're here in spirit, or they're here in my heart, or hey, they went up to be with the Lord. In my eyes, I feel like I am consoling them. They are not consoling me. You're saying you're here for me, but the only person that's been talking is you. But you can't really say anything about it because you have to be a good host. And since you have to be a good host or hostess and host, you now got to put on a strong face for others and put on an act. And you really can't let that act drop until all of the main guests, visitors, and or maybe non-close loved ones that are still alive leave. And once they leave, then maybe you can act in your grief. Except they might want you to help clean up the venue. And so doing all of that acting, putting on a strong front, just for the sake of others, is draining on people who are actually trying to grieve, but don't get the opportunity to fully do so. And as a result, it can make you distant from others, right? When they sit down at the end of the day, they have to think about all of the ripping and running and paperwork they had to do, making sure to honor the wishes of the deceased. And after doing all of that work, they're going to be tired, and they don't want anybody bothering them. And sometimes if they reflect on it, they're going to be mad. They're going to be like, why was I serving you? Why was I having to listen to all of this when all I wanted to do was sit down and take a moment to cry and actually mourn? But I didn't get to fully mourn because I had all of these social responsibilities. People come to the realization that I cannot fully mourn with these people here, so I have to go away, which means they're going to go off away from people, aka become distant. And they hope that in their solitude, they can manage the pain to a manageable level and be able to function in life in areas that are needed. But then there's a snag that gets hit because since the person now wants to be alone, people think they're going into a state of depression. And if people think you're going into a state of depression, they want to show that they're there for moral support. So now they are popping up more consistently, which means the person most likely will have to put on a consistent, strong act over and over and over and over, basically until the person snaps and say, leave me the fuck alone. Or they have to cut people off and be like, just give me some time. I just need a moment. And when they snap, that's when everybody wants to step back and give them that space. But at that point, you already pushed them away. And maybe a person that needed a day, maybe even a week, they're now going to probably take a month, maybe even two, just so that they can understand and live with that pain. And I'll just put a pin on that because I feel like it can go different ways, but I'm not a medical professional. All right. Another thing that we don't talk about when it comes to grief is that there is a silent pain. A pain that exists and has always existed, but I don't think we took the time to put it into words, right? We know about triggers. We know about reminiscing of tales, funeral dates. Those are all painful. But to me, a silent pain in the mind of a person is the fact that you can say no more. There's no more memories. You could be a person who don't have any regrets on how that relationship ended, how you supported them, how they supported you. You feel like you had the best of the best, right? So you have all of these fond memories. You're able to go through the house. You're able to do this. You're able to do that. When you're going through your memories, they might be bittersweet, but you can find the sweetness in it. The silent pain comes in when you realize there are no more. There are no more memories you can make with this person. There are no more phone calls you can have with this person. There are no more jokes that you can share in flesh with this person. You can basically tell when everything stopped. And that is a different type of pain. And I didn't know how to articulate it at first because when I used to work at nursing homes and I would listen to some of the elderly people talk about their siblings or their partner who passed away, you will see nothing but joy telling those memories. You'll see the happiness. Sometimes they could even portray the same emotion that they had back then. And they'll have it with a smile and it'll be very joyous. But then the smile fades and you can almost see in their eyes like a longing, a hurt. And then they say, I miss them. Because they're realizing there aren't any more. Those are the only ones that they have. And those are the only ones that they will have forevermore. And so, yeah, I'm just going to move on to the next one. And I guess the final thing I will say that we as a whole don't talk about when it comes to grieving. One way to support somebody in their time of grieving is by just asking. I know for every person it's different. Some people want you to hug them all the way through. Some people just want to be left alone. Some people want to go and scream into the abyss. Some people just want to act like it never happened. There are a multitude. So I know this advice might not be the best advice, but I do want to bring it into consideration when people talk about trying to be a support system for people who have lost a loved one. So, example would be most people will say, I'm sorry, let me know if you need anything. And most people understand, like, oh, if you need me, call me. But if the person is grieving, they're not trying to call you. They're trying to be left alone. And on top of that, majority of people who say that, they don't live close by. They don't really see the family or the close person, whoever it is, you or whoever you're thinking about. They don't see them frequent enough to even mean it. So, as someone who is going through that loss, the bereaved person understands that it's just a formality. They're not going to take you serious. So maybe a way for you to show that you're in support and you actually want to be active in supporting this person is by saying, hey, can I do this one thing for you? I know it might not be much and you can say no. But if I can do this thing, is that okay? And this could be for anything. Hey, is it okay if I cook for you? Is it okay if I help you maybe rearrange and pack up the belongings of the deceased person or of the late person? Can I wrap everything up here, have everything clean up so you can go home and rest, right? There are things that you can ask in a proactive way to show, hey, I do care. I acknowledge that you have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of responsibilities, and I am actually here to support you in your time. And that is in any way. And if you feel like that person is like, well, they're very strict, they only want certain things to be relinquished to other people, then a question you might ask is, what would you like for me to do? Or, what can I do for you? Some people will give you an honest answer, and some people might just bat you away. But the point is, just popping up, messaging, being like, hey, is there anything? Can I come and drop some food off at your house? Is it okay if I water the flowers from this late person? If that person has children, can I take your kids? Right? Some people are going to be like, yes, please. And others are going to be like, no. And that is okay because grief takes on a lot of forms. Every person doesn't grieve the same. Certain people like to become a workaholic so they don't have to acknowledge those feelings. Some people want to go and cry. Some people will go to therapy. Some people want to fight in a bottle. There are so many people and each person is so different. I know this advice isn't the most sound, but that's all I can think about. And because everyone is different, an advice that I might be able to give is the fact of don't try to force it. Giving people the option of how they want to be supported can make people feel acknowledged and seen. If that person had to bear the brunt of everything in regards to that person's passing, sometimes letting them know they have a choice and letting them know that that choice can be utilized at any point in time and there isn't a rush for you to do it. There's not a rush and there's no pressure behind saying yes or no. And that could mean the world to that person because you are going to be one of either one or one of the very few who will actually prioritize that said person. I think my mama was a very good example of that because my mom would just sit there and let some of the widows talk to her. And she would acknowledge that it's a sad feeling. I know she used the phrase, they're in your heart or you'll see them in heaven or something like that. But what my mama used to do was get all of her kids, including me, and we would either help out these widows in any way we know how. So my mom's like, I don't have money to maybe help you get this whole house cleaned up, but I do have some kids, and I do have a weekend free, and they have a weekend free. So we could come and we can help you pack things up. So I'm in the kitchen, cleaning out the shelves, cleaning out the expired goods, mopping, sweeping, maybe even doing laundry. My sister's somewhere, probably playing with the widow, because she was very young. I guess Miss Widow, she found it super cute. So they almost kept her around while they talked. And then my brothers would help move some of the stuff around. If there was stuff in the basement, they would bring it up. If there was stuff in the attic, they would bring it down. Basically, we're helping them pack things up and clean up house. And to me, I didn't think much about it. Why is my mama making me work? I didn't do anything. I've been good all this week. Why are we helping them clean? But you can see on Mrs. W's face when her house is fully cleaned up. And you can see tears, and she is just crying. And she's hugging my mother over and over. And she's just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she's apologizing, like, I'm so sorry. And my mama would just hold her till she didn't want to be held anymore. After doing that 5 times, I realized she was being a good support for that person. Other ways that my mother was a good support system was when she would be cooking dinner, because it seems like we had a lot more food. And it's like, oh snap, we about to eat good. We can get like 3 plates. It's enough plates for everybody in here to get 3, and maybe even 4. But what happened was she would take a good chunk and she would put them into paper plates and or reusable plastic containers. And then she would tell me to come with her. And sometimes she'll tell me and my little sister to come with her. So we're in the car, we might be talking, and I'll be like, well, who are we going to? Well, this is Mrs. W3, right? Be very respectful, be very polite, and also be very sensitive. She's very sad at the moment. And I was like, okay. I don't know why we're going over to Mrs. W3 house and or why I had to be there, but okay. And so then once we get there, my mama would knock on Mrs. W3 door, and Mrs. W3 would open it, and she would look at my mama surprised, like, what are you doing here? Oh my gosh. Oh, if I would have known, I would have gotten more dressed. And there goes my mama with a whole bunch of food, talking about, here you go. You could take this for you, and then if they had kids, then some of the kids can eat off of that plate too. And she would go, and she would sit down, and she would talk with Mrs. W3. And what was I doing? I might be sitting there listening or watching TV. But for this occasion, Mrs. W3 had some dishes piled up in the sink and some trash around. The living room was a little disheveled, so it wasn't fully organized. And Mrs. W3 had a lot of boxes everywhere, and it seemed like she had a lot of bags and a lot of boxes. My mom would say, hey, sweetheart, I'm going to ask you for something. I'd be like, yes, ma'am. And she'll say, go in the kitchen and finish doing the dishes. So now I'm in W3's house doing dishes. I washed them. Then I would come back and I would tell my mama I finished washing the dishes. And she said, thank you. Then she turned to Mrs. W3, and we were looking at all the bags and the boxes in the living room. And she said, hey, what are you trying to do? She was like, oh, well, this box is for throwaways. These boxes are maybe for the toys. And these boxes are for old clothes. And so then my mama was like, did you hear that? And I would say, yes, ma'am. And then she would say, let's help her organize the living room. So now after washing the dishes, I'm in the living room helping organize things into its proper bag, if it's trash, or the proper boxes. By the time Mrs. W3 finished eating, my mama and her are still talking. My mama would sometimes help me, but then she'll sit back down and talk with Mrs. W3, and I'm still organizing. Basically, once I finished in the living room, my mama would look at Mrs. W3 and it's like, is there anything else we can do for you? And Mrs. W3 was like, no, you've already done enough. I can't thank you more than what I already could. And my mom was like, we're here for you. What do you need? We're here to give service to you. And so Mrs. W3 would point us to another room. And here we go, my mama and I were in that room and we're helping organize it. Same kind of system, bags for trash, boxes are labeled. Pretty simple. My mama was there and she started to help me, and then she'll go off and she'll talk with Mrs. W3 some more. They're in there laughing and joking. I'm still working. Then my mama would peek her head in and she'll be like, you good? I'm like, yes, ma'am. Continue working. Then she'll come in, peek her head in a second time, and then she'll help me for like another 10 to 15 minutes. Then she'll go back out and talk with Mrs. W3 while I finish cleaning up that one room. And that one room typically had toys, books, some shoes, batteries, and a lot of clothes. And so what would happen is she would look, and when she see the room was very organized, she broke down. She was like, thank you. My mom was like, this is what we're here for. This is what community is. So Mrs. W3 was like, I can't pay you anything. She said, I do this for free. And she was like, no, you can't do this for free. This is too much. She would be like, well, I don't have money I can give you, but I do have clothes that might fit her or one of your sons. If you want to take these clothes with you, you can. Is that fair? And my mom was like, sure. She was like, I was going to put them away. I was going to throw them away. So I'm more than happy to give you these clothes. And they would talk a little bit more, and then I nodded off, and then my mama nudged me. We talked all the way on the ride back home, and that was it. But I had to do that multiple times. Long story short, be the support system that you would like others to be for you. And that's it. I know it's long, so I'll just see you around.